Greetings! I am Herbert Erpaderp, and this is Herbert Erpaderp's Quick Tips. Today, I'm going to show you how I prime models. Why should you prime your models? The simple answer is so that paint will stick to it properly and won't come off easily. Here you can see the primers I have on hand at the moment. The Bolt Action Dunkelgelb is an aerosol can. Today, I'll be showing you how I prime models using my airbrush, so let's get rid of that, we don't need it. The others can be airbrushed on, or if you'd prefer, brushed on by hand. I much prefer airbrushing though. The Vallejo surface primer here is quite good, but this bottle is very old and there's pretty much none left, leaving us with two choices. A grey primer from AK Interactive. It works well enough. Use a white or grey primer if you want to paint your model brighter colours like red or yellow. You'll find it easier to get good solid coats of those colours if you use a light coloured primer. I'm going to be using black though. In this case, it's Stynylrez Res from Badger. I've only used this a couple of times, but it seems like quite a good primer. Make sure to shake this stuff up good and proper before application. This video isn't so much about the primers themselves, but how I apply them. So let's get to that. The first thing I do is remove the protective cap thing from the end of my airbrush. Be very careful when doing this. You really don't want to damage your needle tips, so if you're worried about this, just don't do it. The reason I do this is to make dealing with paint accumulating on the tip easier. Next, put some paint in the airbrush's cup. This is easily overlooked, but it will drastically improve your airbrush's performance. Unless you think you will use it all pretty quickly, there is no reason to put too much paint into the cup. It can dry in there and cause clogging, which is not fun, especially when using primers which may adhere to the inside of the airbrush better than regular acrylic paint. Then, aim your airbrush at the model and open fire. The distance you hold the brush away from the model can vary, depending on things like temperature, humidity, and the kind of paint you're using. I find around 20 centimeters is about right for me. You might need to experiment. Spray lightly and in a continuous motion back and forth or up and down across the piece. Don't stop. You want a nice, even coat, and if you stop moving the brush, you'll start blasting paint at one spot, and that will create bumps and runs, and it will obscure details and look awful. You'll probably get sent to the gulag. The actual amount of primer you should put on the model is up for debate. Some prefer a very fine, light coat that you can still see plastic through. Others, myself included, like a solid coat that you can't see plastic through. It just comes down to personal preference. I'm not going to tell you to pick one way over the other. Whichever you choose, you don't want it to go on too thick. I normally like to apply my primer in 2, sometimes 3 very fine coats. This helps reduce any potential filling and obscuring of details. I have also heard that if you apply primer too thick, the acrylic paint will stick to it less effectively because it goes glossy. You want the primer to be matte. A lot of people like to wear gloves when airbrushing. I don't. I find them horribly uncomfortable because it's always over 9,000 degrees here and the glove fills with sweat, which as you can imagine is disgusting and uncomfortable. It's not like the paint is toxic and I'm probably not going to be licking my hands or anything like that while I paint. I'd prefer to spend a few seconds washing my hands than wear a glove. Do wear one if you want to though. I'm going to use this Bismarck hole to demonstrate how bad it looks when you apply way too much paint and hold it in one spot. Of course, this is an extreme demonstration, but it's definitely something you want to try and avoid doing even a little bit. You can see how awful this looks. Other than stripping the primer off and starting again, you can't really fix this, and it will just make the entire model look like garbage. I'm pretty sure that's not what you want, though maybe it could be used as an effect on damaged or destroyed areas. Probably not. There's probably better ways to achieve that. It just looks bad and should be avoided. Here's the result from my good application. It's kind of hard to see because there's so much black, but you can tell that it's nice and matte. It doesn't obscure any details, and it covers the plastic well, except for on the bottom where I won't be painting anyway. The model is now ready for base coating. The way I apply the primer is pretty much exactly how I would apply the base coats, so I probably won't do a video on that specifically. It is pretty simple to do. So that was a quick, basic look at how I prime. Other people might do it differently, and some people don't prime at all, but I feel it is necessary to prime models, especially if they're going to be handled. For example, a wargaming piece. Primers come in a variety of colours, so there's plenty of choice there. Most of the time I like using black because it can help in creating shadows, and if you happen to miss some hard to reach areas with the base coats, it doesn't look so bad. But if you find a primer that also works well as a base coat, that can be a good option too. If you have any questions or suggestions for things you would like to see me demonstrate or attempt in a future Herbert Erpaderp's quick tips, put those in the comments section below. And don't forget to do all the YouTubey things such as liking and subscribing if you like the stuff I do. And if you really like the videos I make, please consider helping to support the channel via Patreon. Patrons get to see my videos a little early along with some bonus patron-only content. If you want to check that out, there's a link to my Patreon in the description and on screen now. As always, I shall return soon, so until then, happy painting and thanks for watching. Farewell.